As soon as I was imprisoned, my best friends seduced my boyfriend. As soon as I got out of prison, they were going to conspire to kill me. They didn't know that I was reborn. But it seems that I'm not the only one who was reborn. Just as I came out of the iron gate of the prison, my best friend was waiting for me at the gate with my boyfriend. I took a look at them with the hidden undercurrents, and didn't say that I already knew about their betrayal. Yes, I was reborn. In my previous life, after I was imprisoned, my best friend Renee seduced my boyfriend. Not only that, they had been keeping it from me, treating me like a fool and even using me to work in my father's company, stealing my family's business secrets, causing my family to be ruined. In the end, my father jumped off a building. My mother committed suicide. And they framed me for all of this, making me spend the rest of my life in prison. In this life, when I woke up again, I was already in prison. Everything had happened. But it wasn't the worst moment yet. In my previous life, I wholeheartedly thought that I had done something wrong, and was filled with guilt and a desire to make amends. I didn't pay attention to these details either. Even at the moment when I saw Renee coming to pick me up, my heart was filled with gratitude. Seeing my cold reaction, Hugo's face darkened, and he said unhappily, "Cecilia, we came here especially to pick you up. Who are you making that long face for?" Look, is this what a boyfriend should say? I glanced at Renee and saw her looking at me pitifully. "Cecilia, did we make you unhappy by coming to pick you up? I'm sorry. I thought you'd be happy. I even got up at 7 o'clock in the morning to prepare to come to you. Don't be angry." I looked at her fully made-up face. I bet it took no less than 3 hours to do that makeup. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw a shiny area beside her. And I even suspected that she had put powder on her shoulders. Strictly speaking, she did prepare this way to see me. So, how should I deal with this special way of picking me up? Just as I was about to speak, Renee secretly tugged at Hugo's sleeve. "Hugo, don't talk to Cecilia like that in the future. Cecilia has had a hard time in prison. And she may not be used to life outside yet. For goodness sake. This is so tea. Guys, I'm not going to do anything else today. No matter what. I have to go to the ophthalmologist. How could I be so blind at such a young age?" As expected, Hugo's face turned even darker when he heard the word prison. He scolded me like a father. "Now that you're out, don't do anything illegal anymore. Be a good person." I chased after him when we got together. So he thought he had the aura of a domineering president. "I can choose you. And I can also dump you." Unfortunately, heading fulfilledly, this scumbag man doesn't have this clear understanding. Thinking of the miserable end that my family would suffer at the hands of this wretched couple in a few months, I sneered coldly. "I'm so rich. Do I need you to tell me how to live my life? Insect." You let out a low sigh. You being sarcastic. "You're simply unreasonable." Hugo was so angry that he was shaking. He secretly made a gesture to Renee from an angle where I couldn't see. Then he pretended to be so angry with me that he left. I already knew what tricks they were playing. And I didn't even chase after them. I even spat in disdain. By now, even a fool could tell that I was different from before. Renee held my hand uneasily. "Cecilia, you're angry with me because I didn't come to see you these past few years. Right? It was Uncle and Aunt who arranged for me and Hugo to go abroad. I'm sorry. In these 3 years, I took the love of your father and mother that should have been yours. But I just wanted to take care of them for you when you were away. You must be able to understand me. Right? If you're angry with me, I'll give all of this back to you." Renee pulled me and explained urgently. And apologized in a way that made one feel pity. In my previous life, when my parents recognized her as their godraider, she explained it to me in the same way. What did I say in return at that time? "Okay. And you can give back to me everything that belongs to me." I looked at her steadily. Renee was obviously taken aback and didn't expect me to say that. Her face suddenly turned a little pale. I smiled and put my arm around her shoulder. "I'm just kidding. Don't worry. Let's talk about it when we get home." When Renee saw my contact with her, she showed a relieved smile and got into the Maybach she was driving with me. "Yes, Cuz EQ. I'm not in a hurry. We can take our time. In the car, Renee looked at me curiously. Cecilia, what kind of cosmetics did you use in prison? Why is your skin still so good? I touched my face and said nonchalantly, is it good? It's just so-so. Renee said with a sigh, you're really naturally beautiful. It's enviable. I also said with a sincere face, I've always been prettier than you. Don't you know that? Well, that killed the conversation. Renee was a bit depressed and finally sat still. Before I was imprisoned, I was always a fashioned darling among socialites. The clothes I wore often sold out, and she was always the ordinary one. She must have thought that in the few years I was in prison, I must have been tortured and lost my former glory. So she dressed up grandly today to pick me up. In fact, in my previous life, after I came out, I was indeed haggard and thin. But after being reborn, not only do I have the memories of my previous life, but I also got along very well in prison and met many big shots. I'm not the same person as before. Now, I'm the new me. Cecilia. When we were almost there, Renee finally couldn't hold back and told me the purpose of coming to pick me up today. Cecilia, I've thrown a welcome party for you at home. Everyone is waiting for you. After saying that, she looked at me with shining eyes, looking like she was expecting praise. In my previous life, because of this party, I completely broke up with my parents. Renee first deliberately let me see Hugo's affectionate confession to her by the swimming pool, which was a huge blow to me. Then she arranged for people to pour a lot of wine on me and lured me to make a scene, showing my ugly side. At that time, my parents received a message from Renee saying that I was ill and rushed home. But when they got home, they saw that I had made a mess of the house. They thought that I was still idle and worthless as before and were completely disappointed in me. And Renee completely won the favor of my parents and Hugo at this party. Even my former friends completely sided with her from then on. Hugo left earlier just now to make preparations. Even if I refuse now, it's impossible to cancel it. I nodded in agreement. Renee wants me to make a fool of myself in public, but I'm going to shine at the party. When Renee saw that I agreed, she was as happy as if she had won the lottery. She happily stuffed a handbag into my arms. On my way here just now, I went to Brand C and bought you your favorite brand of dress. You're so beautiful. You'll definitely surprise everyone when you put it on later. It was a bright red evening dress. The style was from last year. In my previous life, I wore this dress that was obviously too big for me. And I didn't pay attention to skincare in prison. I appeared in front of people with a dark red face while wearing this dress, looking extremely ridiculous. And she wore a white short cocktail dress, looking like a fairy, and laughed at me with the others from the audience. I rolled down the car window and threw the dress out, smacking my lips. No need. I have my own clothes. After saying that, I looked at her in confusion. Renee, your parents have been raising you richly for 3 years. How come your taste is still not good? You still like such tacky clothes. Her family used to be in great difficulty and always relied on poverty subsidies. Until before I got into trouble, many people were laughing at her. But after I had an accident, my parents felt guilty and compensated her after I got out of prison, making her a rich second generation. When Renee heard me say this, it hit her sore spot. What she hated most was being called tacky. Her face froze. But she didn't dare to anger me. So she didn't say anything in the end. Just with a slightly red face from holding back. I just like seeing you look at me with hatred but not being able to do anything to me. Bitch. As soon as I got home, Renee couldn't stand my sharp tongue anymore and fled in a hurry. I shook my head, made a phone call, and went back to my room as if I were familiar with the way. In the dreamy pink princess room, the butler and the maid stood in a neat row. Welcome home, miss. There were dozens of high-end custom-made clothes neatly arranged on the bed. I nodded. Soon, let out a low sigh. A professional makeup team came in through the main door and started doing my makeup. There were still a few hours before the party in the evening. I didn't sleep well last night because I played du jour too late. So I took the opportunity to take a nap. When I woke up again, it was already dark outside. Everyone in the room had left, And only the makeup artist looked at me helplessly. My dear lady. You finally woke up. Joe. I'm a makeup artist that many big names can't even book. You actually fell asleep while I was doing your makeup. I patted his shoulder. Sorry. I'm just used to the smell of your perfume. He looked at me and didn't say anything for a moment. Then he packed up his makeup box angrily and went downstairs. Joe was sent to prison for education because of street racing with others before. He was bullied in prison because of his effeminate behavior. I protected him. Later. He always said that I was his best friend. And he would be my follower when he got out. He closed the door carefully when he left. I looked at the silver halter-neck hollow-out dress that was sent while I was sleeping. Each dime and was a blue diamond uniform size and transparent color. Wearing it would definitely outshine Renee in every way. The size was completely tailored to my wasp waist. The measurements were taken just the day before I got out of prison. So there was definitely no mistake. I touched my belly and thought it was a pity that I couldn't eat too much tonight. I put on the dress, twirled around in front of the mirror, and was sure that I looked stunning. I opened the door and walked out. The party was held outdoors at my home, and I could go directly there from the stairs of my room. The moment I pushed the door open, Joe took on the job of the lighting engineer. A beam of light shone down from above my head. All the conversation stopped, and the dense crowd below all raised their heads and looked in the direction of the light. I had rehearsed this moment countless times. I knew Joe's makeup skills. With thick black eyebrows, charming eyes under fan-like eyelashes, bright red lips, a neat and dashing high ponytail, and a wasp waist and straight shoulders that I had worked hard to train for in the past 3 years. With delicate and smooth skin, long and slender legs, and jade-like arms as white as lotus roots gently resting on the handrail of the stairs. I slowly swept my eyes downwards, and even heard the sound of everyone taking a deep breath. Here. I am the queen. I'm back to my home court to take back what belongs to me. I slowly walked down the stairs step by step, holding the handrail. God. This is Cecilia. I didn't even recognize her. Yes. Before. The way Renee took pictures of her when she visited Cecilia in prison made us think that she had a hard time in there. But I didn't expect her to be even more beautiful than before. What's the use of being beautiful? She's still a murderer. It's already been said that it was manslaughter. Cecilia had lost consciousness at that time. Oh. Sister is so beautiful. Sister. You can kill me. Oh, sister. You've hit my heart. Whispers came from the crowd. I looked in the direction of the crowd and even saw my primary school classmates and teachers. Renee really went to great lengths and invited everyone she could to watch me make a fool of myself. Unfortunately, unfortunately, I will definitely not let her have her way. I saw her in the crowd with a pale face, looking at me jealously. Hugo beside her was completely transfixed. I gave Hugo a sweet smile. Hugo couldn't help but take a step forward and grinned at me too. People in the crowd praised that Hugo and I were a perfect match. She tugged at Hugo's sleeve. But Hugo only had eyes for me and didn't notice her subtle movement. She was so angry at Hugo's gaffe that her eyes turned red. She stamped her foot and ran away. Only then did Hugo react. He looked in the direction she had run. Then at me. And finally, still smiling, he walked over to the stairs and waited for me. While nodding and greeting everyone with a smile, I casually asked Hugo, "Am I beautiful?" Hugo's gaze never left my face. And he nodded eagerly. "Beautiful. Cecilia. You're really incredibly beautiful. I've been thinking about you day and night for these 3 years. Your face is like the moonlight in my heart." "Oh? Then who is more beautiful in your heart, me or Renee?" This was a life or death question. It wasn't about who was more beautiful, but who held a more important place in his heart. Hugo said matter-of-factly, "Of course it's you. Your temperament is something she can never learn. How can an ugly duckling compare to a white swan?" It seemed that today's look was very successful. And Hugo was already completely smitten with me. But just this wasn't enough. I gave him a sweet smile and motioned for him to look behind. The little white lotus who had come back was crying with her hands covering her face, not far away, and ran away again. Hugo said with a somewhat unpleasant expression that he wanted to prepare a surprise for me, and then left in a hurry. I motioned for him to do as he pleased and then held a wine glass and exchanged greetings with the others. Everyone was talking about the interesting things that had happened in the 3 years since I left, but they didn't mention my incident at all, as if it had been passively forgotten. I sipped the red wine slowly and chatted idly. Why don't we see Renee? She's Cecilia's best friend after all. Yeah. We haven't seen her since Cecilia came down. And Hugo is also gone. I saw that they seemed to be over by the swimming pool. At this moment, a girl named Renee and Hugo spoke up. I recognized her as Mia, Renee's lackey. In my previous life, it was she who told me the whereabouts of Renee and Hugo. But in this life, there has always been someone by my side. And she has no chance to talk to me alone. I swirled the wine glass in my hand. Oh? How about we go and see what surprise they've prepared for us together? As soon as I finished speaking, the girl's face turned pale. If it were the old me, I would have foolishly run over there by myself, been heartbroken, and finally made a fool of myself. But now, I'm taking so many people with me. I wonder what it will be like to see my best friend and my boyfriend colluding in a despicable way. She obviously didn't expect such a result either. She wanted to speak up and stop us. But more people chimed in. Okay. Let's go and take a look together. Maybe they've really prepared a surprise for us. Exactly. It's not very fair of them to hide away like this. She's Cecilia's best friend. Come on. Let's go find her. After that, a large group of people surrounded me and walked in that direction. I took the opportunity to pull the girl's hand and looked at her with a half smile. Come with us. She was caught in the middle of the crowd and couldn't squeeze out at all. Along the way, when people saw our large group, they all thought there was something exciting to watch. And more people joined in. A long line formed at the back of the group, just like the continuously lengthening boss in the snake game. Is this considered a surprise? When we got near the swimming pool, from a distance, we could see Renee and Hugo pulling and tugging at each other on the other side of the swimming pool. Renee seemed to be crying, and Hugo seemed to be constantly explaining something. It was too far away to hear their conversation, but from their body language, Hugo had been holding Renee's arm, and Renee didn't resist. Everyone looked at each other, all wearing expressions as if they had eaten shit. Something seems off about them. Someone in the crowd muttered softly. Isn't Hugo Cecilia's boyfriend? Why is he so intimate with Renee? Could it be that Hugo is having an affair? Someone in the crowd said this. And there was a moment of silence. Everyone's eyes carefully looked at me. How about we go and see what they're saying? Someone rubbed their hands excitedly and looked at me tentatively. I nodded in agreement. Let's go over together. Seeing that I had given the go-ahead, everyone couldn't hold back their curiosity anymore. Without even my reminder, they all tiptoed over with a gossipy mindset. With so many people, not a single sound was made. TSK. It's really the power of gossip. Renee and Hugo were originally putting on a show for me. So of course, they didn't bother to check the surrounding environment. They were immersively absorbed in their performance. Hugo, I don't like her at all. I've always liked you. Renee. You have to believe me. Renee, I want to believe you too. But Cecilia is so beautiful. I don't have the confidence. Oh ho. This is different from what was said in my previous life. I didn't expect that I had provoked Renee so much that she took the fake show as real. Hugo, she just put on makeup. When we went to pick her up just now, we've seen what she looks like without makeup. Her bare face can't compare to yours at all. I was indeed wearing no makeup just now. Sorry. Your girlfriend was wearing a natural-looking makeup. God knows how sallow her face might be when she takes it off. Moreover, she killed my uncle. She's the enemy of our family. There's no way I can be with her. She's a murderer. Whoosh. Damn it. Is this something a boyfriend should say? Everyone carefully observed my expression. Although this was the truth, my parents were both from prominent families in the area. Now that I've been released from prison, as long as my parents haven't given up on me, I'm still someone not to be offended. So are my scandals. Seeing that I didn't react much, they all secretly heaved a sigh of relief. At this moment, Mia finally couldn't hold back anymore. She coughed and spoke up to remind them. Renee and Hugo pretended to turn around. The moment they turned around, I felt that the expressions on their faces were as constipated as those of the people beside me. There's a kind of secret that's known only to heaven, earth, you, and me, adding till filled my sashim. But not to everyone. It's like a balloon that's been blown to the extreme. It's about to explode. But the effect of it exploding in a room with only two people is completely different from it exploding in a square full of people. The affair between Renee and Hugo is the latter. Now that it's exploded in the square, the power of it can be imagined, and everyone's anger has been ignited. The situation was about to get out of control. I lowered my eyes. Plop. Renee made a prompt decision and knelt down with a swoosh. The sound was so loud that her kneecap might have broken. I have to say, she's really a tough person. She's tough on others and even tougher on herself. At least the words that were on the tip of the tongues of the people around me were suddenly choked back. And they all looked at each other in surprise. What's going on here? Renee didn't give us time to react. With tears streaming down her face, she crawled in front of me and slapped herself in the face one slap after another. While slapping herself and wiping her snot, she apologized. Cecilia, I'm sorry. We've never told you this because we were afraid that you might do something stupid in prison. We originally planned to tell you tonight by your parents. Please don't be angry now. How about I break up with Hugo? I just want to be friends with you. These words seemed to be all for my sake. All apologies. And all had nothing to do with her. Just because she's so cunning like this. I've always been played by her. The better she can act, the better I have to act than her. Thinking about what I'm going to do next, my eyes became even colder. At this moment, Hugo also reacted. Seeing the disapproving looks of the people around, he gritted his teeth and stubbornly refused to admit it. What's wrong with me and Renee? I never liked you in the first place. It was you who insisted on chasing me. That day, I was about to break up with you. But you and Renee had a car accident. After you went to prison, Renee didn't let me say it. I've had enough of this in the past few years. Hugo pulled Renee up by the arm. Why are you apologizing to her? It's her who should be apologizing. If it weren't for her, how could you have been seriously injured and fallen into a coma? How could my uncle have died? It was all because of her driving. Hugo. Renee looked at Hugo sternly and shook her head slightly. Hugo gave me a resentful look and didn't say anything more. The people around had their fill of the gossip. It has to be said that Renee hadn't been idle in the years since I went to prison. And some people still sided with her. People started to plead for her. I think there are plenty of fish in the sea. Men are like clothes. You're so beautiful and rich. Tonight, the sisters will set you up with a guy even more handsome than Hugo. Yeah. Renee has had a tough time these past few years. She even earned a double doctorate in economics by herself. Forget it. Let's just let this matter go. Cecilia. Who remembers that before I got into trouble, I was the top student in everything. And my grades were far ahead of Renee's. Hugo is the only son of a local food industry family. How many handsome guys have his family background? If I weren't Cecilia who was reborn for revenge, I'm afraid it would be me who's crying and apologizing now. Seeing that the atmosphere had eased, Hugo exchanged a glance with Renee. Then he pushed out a large birthday cake that was over a meter tall from behind. He said that he wanted to celebrate our friendship and also apologize to me. With the atmosphere set, everyone shouted for me to cut the cake to celebrate my new beginning. I looked at the time on my wrist. It turned out that this was also carefully calculated by them. It was almost the same time as in my previous life. In my previous life, I was wearing the ugly clothes prepared by Renee and cutting the huge cake, but I lost my balance and cut myself, making a mess of myself. Just then, let out a low sorry. My parents came back from outside and saw this scene. They thought I had embarrassed them and left directly. That's how I ended up drinking alone later. This time, I smiled and took the knife from Renee's hand, but I held it tightly so that she couldn't break free. I looked at her with a gentle smile. We're good sisters. We should share both good and bad times. How about we cut the cake together? As I spoke, without giving her a chance to refuse, I pressed her hand and cut down. I didn't spend these 3 years in prison for nothing. Renee couldn't break free at all. With a look of horror, she cut the cake with me. At the bottom of the cake, there was a small touch mechanism. As long as it was touched, a spring-loaded cake would pop towards the person closest to it. This was also a suspicion that I carefully thought about after being reborn this time. Now, seeing Renee's terrified look, it confirmed my guess even more. I pressed her hand down, and then quickly took a step backward. Taking the opportunity, I supported her waist, making it difficult for her to move even an inch. Ahhh. The soft and sweet cake instantly lunged towards Renee, smearing all over her face. The clothes outside her strapless dress were covered with the soft and collapsed cake. Renee frantically shook off the stickinses all over her body like she had gone crazy. People around all took a step back and looked at her with some disgust. Even Hugo frowned imperceptibly and didn't step forward to help. Renee was in a complete mess. I clapped my hands and pretended to sigh. The principle of my life is that if you are unkind, I will be unrighteous. That's who I, Cecilia, am. How could you all forget that? What on earth are you doing? A powerful male voice sounded from a distance. Everyone turned around and saw my father, the well-known middle-aged president in the local area, with a dark expression on his face. Uncle, Hutta. We were just joking around. Cecilia. Congratulations on getting out of prison. We're leaving now. Let's get together another day. When everyone saw that my father had come back, they didn't dare to act rashly because of his imposing manner and left one after another. Before long, only my father, my mother, Renee, Hugo, and I were left in the living room. My father looked at me disapprovingly. What's going on here? Didn't Renee say that you were ill? Why are there so many people gathered here at home for a party? My mother also questioned me disapprovingly. How did the cake get on Renee? Even when you're having fun, you should act like it. Look at yourself compared to Renee. Where is the demeanor of a lady from a prestigious family? At this moment, Renee kneeled obliquely on the ground at just the right angle to reveal the scar on her knee. She looked worried and explained for me, Uncle, Aunt. This has nothing to do with Cecilia. It's me and Hugo who are sorry for her. As she spoke, she secretly winked at Hugo, and Hugo echoed. Cecilia saw that I'm with Renee. What they said was the truth. But it made my parents think that I had done this on purpose because of their betrayal. Well, although I did do it on purpose. You unfilial girl. Your heart is so narrow. Renee almost lost her life because of you. If it weren't for your speeding and hitting someone and causing their death, our family wouldn't have been involved in a scandal. Yes. When you went to prison. If Hugo hadn't stayed engaged to you, our company's stock would have surely plummeted. Hugo and Renee being together. Your father and I both knew about it. You child. Why are you still so stubborn? My mother also looked at me with a sense of disappointment. For a moment, an indescribable low-pressure atmosphere enveloped the whole family. Is it my turn? What? My father looked at me in confusion, as if he didn't expect me to react like this. I said coldly, You've finished speaking. Is it my turn to talk now? My father and my mother exchanged a look and both frowned. Renee secretly raised the corners of her mouth. Dad, Mom, I really missed you so much in there. The next second, I pounced between my father and mother like a bear and hugged them, crying my heart out. Oh. I thought of you every day in prison. I didn't expect that you were also worried about me. You came back to see me specially when you heard that I was ill. I'm really so touched. Woohoo. As I cried, I wiped my snot onto my father's Armani suit. When I was a child, every time I made a mistake and cried, and my mother wanted to hit me, I would run into my father's arms and cry. After all, I'm their biological daughter. Blood is thicker than water. When my father heard me say this, his face was full of pity. All right. Our daughter has suffered a lot in prison. Let's not scold her for now. She's still a child. And my mother also looked full of guilt. Mom. I met a girl in prison and became good friends with her. You should know her mother. Her name is Elia. We made an agreement to be good people after getting out. Woohoo. My mother looked pleasantly surprised. Elia. The Wang family in the capital city? Her daughter was also in prison? That's great. If you can get to know her, then our family's business won't be a worry anymore. From now on, no one will dare to laugh at the fact that my daughter was in prison. My mother loves to save face in front of her sisters the most. Now that the daughter of one of the 4 prominent families in the capital city has become my prison bestie, I'm sure she'll be able to show off for the rest of her life, let alone feel ashamed. My father and mother hugged me and chatted about the old days for a while, asking for details. They both forgot about the 2 people kneeling on the ground. Uncle, Aunt. A timid voice came from the ground. My parents looked down and then remembered that they had another daughter, that they had forgotten. My father said awkwardly, Cecilia. Well, no matter what, you can't treat Renee like this. Renee has helped our family a lot when you were in prison. I looked surprised. Dad. What are you talking about? Renee and I agreed to be friends for life. And we were going to cut the cake together. I just don't know why the cake suddenly shook. My mother chimed in beside me. Our daughter is beautiful and kind-hearted. How could she do such a thing on purpose in public? It's more likely that someone tampered with the cake. And we should investigate it carefully. My mother is indeed a socialite in the social circle. She immediately sensed the green tea smell. Renee was so scared at this moment that her eyes were panicked. She kept apologizing to me and explained that it was just a misunderstanding. Only then did my mother let it go. But when she looked at Renee again, there was a hint of an indescribable meaning in her eyes. By the way, Dad, I self-studied and got a double degree in finance and advertising in prison. Can you arrange a position for me in the public relations department so that I can apply what I've learned? I winked playfully at my father. As soon as my father heard that I was so motivated, he arranged for me to join the marketing department without hesitation and told me to start work tomorrow. But since he didn't know my strength yet, he said that he would let me start from the grassroots level and would promote me after I got used to it in a month. I had no objections. After all, I'm not really going to work. I'm going there to keep an eye on Renee. My father started his business and trade. Before long, the company will sign a very important contract. Renee will leak the company's secrets in this project and collude with Hugo to ruin my family. And then the wretched couple will live a happy life. This is an important juncture and there's no room for mistakes. Plus, heading to soulmate Sasha. I'm not sure how much of my family's secrets Hugo has mastered in these years. So I plan to catch them myself. The next day, I reported to the company. Unexpectedly, on the first day I came, the company launched this project. Although I was a newbie, because of my connections, I was still arranged to participate in this major project, and Renee is my direct superior. Since yesterday, whenever my parents are not around, Renee doesn't hide the malice in her eyes when she looks at me. After all, in these 3 years, she has completed her studies and found her destination, through my family, and no longer needs my family's help. As long as she finishes this last deal, she will truly turn her life around and become a wealthy and beautiful woman. She is no longer afraid of falling out with me. In the meeting, Renee presented a lot of plans about this project beside the PPT, all of which were well-founded. The people below all expressed their approval. Here it comes. This is very likely the business plan that will cause my family's company to go bankrupt. But after thinking about it for a long time, I couldn't see what was wrong. I couldn't help but frown. There must be something wrong. But no matter how hard I racked my brains, I couldn't figure out where the breakthrough point was. Just as I was feeling frustrated, a handsome guy across from me interrupted Renee. If we follow your plan, then our import cost will increase by 3 times. But our company's risk assessment is only 1/2. This plan is perfect in itself, but it doesn't leave room for risks. If there's an accident in any link later, even a 0.1 chance, it will lead the company into an uncontrollable and unknown situation. I suddenly looked up and saw a young, handsome, and cool guy across from me. He was wearing a straight black suit and a white shirt, just like the male led in a Korean drama. My heart skipped a beat. He's handsome, talented, and has an innocent face. Most importantly, when he saw me looking at him, he blushed shyly. In both of my lives, I only learned the theory but didn't have practical experience. So it was very difficult for me to spot the bug in this business plan. I also grinned and showed my friendliness, giving him a thumbs-up gesture. When he saw my exaggerated gesture, he couldn't help but tilt his head to one side and curl the corners of his mouth. Oh, he looks even more handsome when he smiles. Who is Hugo? Was I blind before? My heart started beating even faster. I wonder if he said the same thing when I wasn't around in my previous life? If he did, then why did the company still fail? Renee's mistake was pointed out in public, and she looked very unhappy. But she had no way out because everyone in this meeting room was intelligent. This proposal was voted to be taken back for rectification. After leaving the meeting room, I asked my colleague about the identity of the handsome guy. Him? He's the new risk consultant in our company. His background is really impressive. I heard that he graduated from MIT. I'm impressed. So he's a top student. In the afternoon, I bought 2 cups of bubble milk tea and planned to find out more about him. I found him in the pantry and pushed the bubble milk tea in front of him. Handsome guy. Do you want some bubbles? He was taken aback for a moment, and a suspicious blush appeared on his cheeks under his handsome gold-rimmed glasses. I leaned forward and took a closer look at him. Just then, my prison big hot friend Nancy called, and I answered it. Hello? Cecilia. My younger brother went to your company. Did you see him? Your younger brother? I looked at the handsome guy in front of me suspiciously. He looked the youngest among everyone in the company. Yeah. My younger brother is intern in your company. Take care of him. I've told him all about your problems. When it comes to dealing with bitches, don't be polite and make good use of him at critical moments. I took a step back and observed carefully. No wonder he proposed that solution in the meeting. It turned out to be because of Nancy. Okay, having so failed my outside, I'm getting on the plane now. I'm going on a trip to the Maldives. I'll contact you when I'm back. Nancy blew me a kiss on the other end of the phone and hung up. Great. Nancy is one of the most powerful and influential people in the capital city. Those dresses of mine were all given by her. Now she's given me a younger brother. I'm even more confident in dealing with Renee now. More importantly, Nancy's younger brother will surely be on my side. My best friend's younger brother is my younger brother. I immediately switched that little bit of budding emotion to the elder sister younger brother mode and wore a loving expression. My sister must have told you about my situation. Right? The other person was taken aback for a moment and then lowered their head shyly. She did. But not everything. Nancy, who is so unreliable and has always been carefree, pulled him into the stairwell at that moment and explained my plan to him in detail again. The eyes under the gold-rimmed glasses grew deeper and deeper. I was so excited about having an ally that I didn't pay much attention to it. Finally, having fulfilled the concluding remarks, I raised my hand as if it were a microphone and motioned for him to speak. The plan is simple. We just need to find the evidence of that bitch leaking company secrets and send her to prison too. Perfect? It was all set. I patted him with a beaming smile and walked away, not noticing the thoughtful gaze behind me. My interactions with Silas started to become more frequent. Oh, Silas is the young man who pointed out the problems with Renee's plan that day. And he is also Nancy's younger brother. We had meals together, got off work together, worked together, and discussed how to deal with that bitch every day. We were as inseparable as conjoined twins. Until the people around me started asking me, "Are you dating Silas?" How could that be? He's my younger brother. I bowed with certainty. A friend's younger brother isn't a blood-related younger brother. Can't you date him? My colleague looked at me with an expression that said, "You're pretending. Just keep pretending," and probed me. These words were like a bucket of cold water that woke me up and made me calm down. Being too close to Silas might draw him too deep into this. There is still danger in this matter. It would be bad if I implicated him and made him a target of Renee. I decided to keep a distance from Silas and made an excuse that I wasn't feeling well and didn't have lunch with him. I originally planned to distance myself from him gradually, but I didn't expect that I would be proven wrong that very night. It was pouring heavily outside. Silas appeared at my doorstep all wet, and his white shirt had become translucent. His pectoral muscles were faintly visible. I swallowed hard and looked at him in confusion. It's raining so hard. What are you doing at my house? He looked at me pitifully with his deer-like eyes. Sister. Don't you want to fight the dragon with me anymore? The dragon girl was the nickname I gave myself. And the dragon couple was naturally that despicable man and woman. I was still confused. What does that have to do with you showing up at my house so late? Silas took out a file bag from the suit jacket he was holding. Inside were the plans he had written. Damn. A top student is a top student. He carefully analyzed the evidence of Renee stealing from the company over the years, and also analyzed where she was most likely to keep these pieces of evidence. Finally, had infiltrated my fiancé. He analyzed all kinds of possible times to go and look for them. I flipped through it with great interest. Before I knew it, Silas had already entered my house, changed into my house slippers, and even took a hot shower. So, the most likely place she would put it is in the office. And our next best chance is to use the company's annual meeting. I raised my head excitedly to share the joy with Silas. There were still water droplets sliding down the young man's fair face. With the gurgling sound of the water bottle as he swallowed, I heard my own heartbeat. Thump, and bit, thump, thump. My heart was about to burst. Sister. At that time. You stole her. I had the authority to enter and exit the office. I'll go and get the documents for you. Okay? He walked over and looked at me with a pure expression. I watched his mouth move up and down. Seeing that I didn't speak for a long time, he walked over. The youthful aura was getting closer and closer and closer, and his face, which was getting bigger and bigger, was right in front of me. I couldn't help but close my eyes. A hissing laugh came from above my head. He ruffled my hair. If you don't say anything, I'll take it as your acquiescence. Then it's a deal. Damn it. What was I expecting? I blushed with shame, slapped his hand away, and ran back to my room with my head down. So embarrassing. I've seen the world, yet I was teased by my younger brother. After that, the atmosphere between me and Silas fell into a delicate state. I would always pay attention to his every move, either intentionally or unintentionally. In the company, I found that he was a hypocritical scoundrel. He usually wore a pair of gold-rimmed glasses in the company, looking abstinent and aloof, but when he got home at night, he would wear a uniform to seduce me, with an innocent and alluring look on his face. And I found that he was quite popular. Often, little girls would come to talk to him under the pretext of asking questions. But he would reject them one by one in a serious manner. After seeing the 12th little girl running away crying, I wondered if I should ask my dad to open a matchmaking agency at home. These little girls nowadays are really too eager. In the blink of an eye, it was time for the annual meeting. We arranged the hall on the first floor of the company in the form of a buffet-style dinner party. The company stipulated that everyone had to attend. They called it a review of the past year. But in fact, it was a great opportunity for internal networking and finding a partner. Renee usually carried her planning documents with her after work and locked them in the safe during work. Only today, that planning document was locked in the safe upstairs. If we wanted to expose her, today was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. I was at the same table as Renee and Hugo. And Silas, who was from the technical department, was at another table. I had been busy discussing the big plan with Silas recently, so I hadn't met Renee for a long time. After this annual meeting, my dad planned to promote me to the position of deputy supervisor. She had worked for 2 years to get the position of supervisor, but I was going to become the deputy supervisor after only half a month of joining the company. Gradually, rumors spread in the company that I was the president's daughter and got interconnections. I knew that Renee had spread these rumors. Would a normal person even think of such a melodramatic story? But instead of breaking me down, this kind of news made everyone even more excited to interact with me. This was something that Renee hadn't expected. Renee's hostility towards me was now obvious. But she was a scheming woman and would only pretend to be weak. So at the dinner table, she started to speak in a sarcastic tone again. I heard that Cecilia will be promoted next month. I want to congratulate you in advance. She raised her wine glass and wanted to toast me. I looked at her and didn't move. And said calmly, I don't drink. She nodded knowingly and then looked behind her. Pretending to understand, look at me. I even forgot. You got into a car accident 3 years ago, while driving under the influence and speeding. And you probably still have a psychological shadow. See, kada la sai. I brought up the wrong thing. I'll punish myself with a glass. Her voice wasn't loud, but everyone around clearly heard about my past. That's right. 3 years ago. She just got her driver's license and asked me if I could fulfill her wish to take a ride in my sports car. Of course. I agreed, but she was too timid and didn't know how to drive. So she asked me to drive to a deserted place first, and then let her take over. After that, I lost my memory. The next thing I knew, I woke up in the hospital after a car accident. The police saw from the surveillance that I was the one driving. And she was unconscious in the passenger seat. So I went to prison for 3 years for hitting someone. It wasn't until I was about to die in my previous life that I remembered that I had clearly switched positions with her on the road and was sitting in the passenger seat, which was why I was unconscious. When I woke up again, I became a murderer. And she was the victim. In fact, the real person who caused the accident was her. In order to escape legal punishment, she used me, who was unconscious, as a scapegoat. She not only stole my life but also, fearing that I would remember, tried to wipe out my entire family. But 3 years had passed, and I didn't have any evidence. At this moment, Renee smiled at me as if her evil plan had succeeded. I knew this kind of smile too well. She had shown this kind of smile when I established a relationship with Hugo back then. And then she stole Hugo away from me. I turned my head. And sure enough, I didn't know when Silas had arrived behind. I didn't know how much he had heard. I didn't say anything for a moment. Silas was just passing by and quickly left, leaving only a glimpse of his clothes behind. I won't lie. I was disappointed after he left. At least, he should have believed me. I watched as Silas walked to the door. He paused for a moment and then touched the button on the right sleeve. This was our secret signal. We would inform each other before taking action. And then the other person would be responsible for keeping watch. I perked up and looked at Renee. In fact, the best way to deal with Renee is to ignore her and then suppress her at the right time. Sure enough, no matter what Renee said next, I just looked at her quietly without speaking and then said at the appropriate moment, I am indeed quite excellent. I am indeed rich. I know I have good popularity. The people at the same table secretly laughed. Out of deference to her face, the colleague opposite me secretly gave me a thumbs-up gesture, indicating that I was awesome. I smiled. Suddenly, I noticed that the seat next to her was empty. Hugo was sitting next to her. And Renee was next to Hugo. I was so focused on dealing with Renee that I didn't even notice when Hugo left. At this moment, I felt a bit strange. After thinking about it, I secretly called Silas under the table. No one answered. If it were under the circumstances we had agreed on, he would have hung up to indicate that everything was okay. I was a bit panicked. Had Silas not heard the phone? Or was there someone around him and he couldn't check his phone? Would he have been discovered? My mind suddenly became a bit chaotic. I stood up and was about to leave. But Renee seemed determined to oppose me, and said she wanted to go with me. What? Do you like being my friend so much that you even want to go to the toilet with me? I couldn't help but retort. Sure enough, when Renee heard what I said, she stopped and didn't follow me anymore. I told my colleagues that I needed to go to the toilet to relieve myself. In fact, as soon as I went out, I changed my route and quietly wanted to go upstairs to see what was going on. I tiptoed upstairs. It was very quiet upstairs. And there was no quarreling sound as I had imagined. This made me heave a sigh of relief. The door of Renee's office was closed. And the safe inside was also intact. Everything seemed to be in its original state, as if it hadn't been touched. Strange. Then where had Silas gone? At this moment, the phone rang. It was a call from Nancy. After I hung up, I sent a message briefly saying that the situation was dangerous and it wasn't suitable to make a sound, and asked her to send a WeChat message. Nancy quickly sent several question marks. You and my younger brother went to steal the documents? But my younger brother is sick with diarrhea and is at home today. I just had a video call with him. My heart skipped a beat. What's your younger brother's name? Brett. It's easy to remember. With the characters for East, South, West, and North. Brett. Brett. He was from Silas' department, a very remarkable chubby guy. I had even asked Silas about him. But Silas had been evasive and asked me if I was looking for another younger brother, which dispelled my doubts. He clearly knew that I had mistaken someone. So why didn't he tell me? At this moment, my heart felt like it had fallen into a cloud of confusion. There were enemies all around, and I was alone in this battle. And to make matters worse, there was actually a traitor in this situation. Damn it. At this moment, I heard a faint thumping sound coming from behind the fire escape. I put my phone back in my bag and walked over cautiously. The closer I got, the clearer the thumping sound became. The pounding sound was very irregular. I still carefully opened the fire door. As soon as I opened it, the scene inside scared the wits out of me. Hugo. What are you doing? I dashed forward and stood in front of Silas. At this moment, Silas had an injury on his head and was covered in blood. Most of the white shirt he usually loved to wear was stained with blood. He was clearly like a man bathed in blood. Hugo was holding a pair of pliers in his hand and was about to raise it to give Silas a heavy blow. In his other hand, he held a business plan. I recognized the words on it. It was the one that Silas and I were going to steal, and it was also the evidence of Renee's crime. When Hugo saw it was me, he put down the pliers in his hand, and his eyes became obsessed. Cecilia, I regret it. We are a perfect match. I'll go and talk to your father. How about we get married? You're crazy. I felt a wave of nausea. Hugo, I admit that I liked you. But it was only for a short moment. When you and Renee betrayed me together, it became impossible for us. I was referring to both this life and the previous life. Hugo looked crazy and pointed at Silas. It's because of him, isn't it? It's all because of this pretty boy's instigation that you don't love me anymore. You still hate me, don't you? You do like me. I didn't bother to pay attention to him. I helped Silas up from the ground. At this time, Silas had lost consciousness. Hugo blocked my way and looked fierce. You can't leave. Don't you want this? I can give it to you. As long as you agree to marry me, I can help you send Renee to prison. It was she who framed you and got you imprisoned. I helped her delete the car's surveillance footage. But I still have a backup. I can give all of this to you. As long as you're with me. This time, it was my turn to be surprised. At this moment, I felt Silas in my arms move slightly. And I understood what he meant. I put my hand in my bag and gently pressed the record button, while pretending to question him painfully. Since you knew that I didn't hit anyone 3 years ago, why did you frame me? Hugo was lost in his memories and didn't notice my small action. At that time, I knew that you didn't like me and were just with me for fun. And Renee, she really admired me. I was also hesitant. When I knew that you and she were going to the suburbs, I drove all the way following you. Then I saw you two switch seats. And I also saw her hit someone. She even got out of the car and dragged you to the driver's seat. At that time, I got out and questioned her and told her that my dash cam had recorded everything and asked her to turn herself in. But she told me her plan. She said that as long as I helped her, all the property of your family would be mine. So, you sold your soul for money? I was shaking with anger. Yes, I didn't fulfill my obsession. Cecilia, I'm sorry for you. But now I've realized that when I saw you again this time, I still couldn't help being attracted to you. There's a kind of magic in you that makes me want to get closer. I regret it. I'm already rich enough. No amount of money is useful. Only a woman like you is the one I want to be with. I sneered. After all, you still love yourself the most. Hugo tried to hold my hand, but I slapped his hand away. I looked at Silas in my arms. I have indeed fallen for Silas. I advise you to turn yourself in, or I'll make you pay 100 times the price. After saying that, I turned around with Silas and was about to leave. Since I had the recording, I could ask my parents to directly fire Renee and carry out a major purge. Whether we had this business plan or not didn't matter anymore. Hugo shouted like a madman behind me. If you leave, I'll destroy this business plan and also destroy the evidence of her hitting someone. You'll never be able to get your revenge. I stopped in my tracks. So he knew everything. My purpose. I turned around. Hugo had already taken out a lighter and started lighting the documents. Laughing wildly. Beg me, Hanadolo sai. Cecilia. Put Silas down. Come over and kiss me. And I won't burn them. I looked at the burning documents and felt a bit annoyed. If Hugo destroyed the evidence against Renee, it would probably be difficult to convict Renee. But it was also impossible for me to be with Hugo. Just when I was at a loss. Silas slowly propped himself up and stood up. Silas. You're awake. He smiled at me. Sister. I wanted to take a bit more advantage. But unfortunately, the time was too short. I opened my mouth, wanting to say something. But I didn't know what to say. I had a lot of things I wanted to say to him. I wanted to ask who he really was. Why he had hidden his identity and lied to me. And I wanted to tell him. But Silas moved faster than my thoughts. The next moment, he threw himself at Hugo. The moment Hugo saw Silas pounce, he raised the pliers again and gave him a heavy blow on the head. Silas didn't dodge. The documents in his hand, and Hugo all rolled down the stairs. All of this happened so quickly, as if it all happened in the blink of an eye. I ran down crying. I didn't look at the unconscious Hugo, nor did I care about the scattered documents. I shakily reached out my finger to check Silas's breath. There was no breath left. I cried my eyes out. Well, who on earth are you? How could you die? I haven't even told you that I like you yet. I patted Silas's shoulder while crying loudly, and called 120 as quickly as possible. Soon, head out a low sigh. The ambulance arrived. The police also arrived. My parents came as well. Renee was taken to the police station. And my parents started dealing with all of Renee's cronies on her list one by one. I was in a daze in the hospital. In the ward. I looked out the window at the blue sky. I sprained my ankle when I went down to find Silas. But the doctor said I had hurt my brain. Because they didn't have any memory of this person named Silas. After Hugo woke up, he also said that I caught him peeking at the documents. And he fell down the stairs during the argument. No one in the company remembered Silas. I was reborn and got my revenge. But I couldn't be happy. I lost my heart. The boy who followed behind me with deer-like eyes disappeared with my heart. Alas. Does she still insist that her boyfriend is named Silas? She said they haven't officially dated yet. And he was the boyfriend-to-be that she was just about to be with? The nurse behind me couldn't help but laugh. What's the difference? He's just a person who doesn't exist, isn't he? What a pity. She's so pretty. By the way, is today the day when Silas comes back to work after his vacation? They started talking about new gossip. There were so many people who laughed at me every day. Who do they think they are? I still looked out the window quietly. Wow. Cecilia. My dear. I heard you hurt your brain. Do you still remember me? Nancy burst into the ward exaggerated. With a short haircut, she was handsome and could be both dominant and submissive. The little nurses around were all staring at her. I looked at her. She was even more exaggerated than me. Since my friend was also acting crazy, it was even less likely for them to suspect me. I was too lazy to talk and still looked out the window. Seeing me like this, Nancy directly pulled someone from behind and brought him in front of me. I heard that it was my younger brother who got you into this state. I brought him here. Although he's a bit ugly, he's very talented. Most importantly, if he dares to betray you in his life, I'll break his legs. Don't worry. From now on, he's your boyfriend. You have a boyfriend now. My dear. The chubby boy stood in front of me, blocking my view. I had to look up and take a glance. You've lost weight. Brett used to be a chubby boy. When Nancy saw that I had reacted, she was almost moved to tears. Brett said, trembling lie. My sister said that you described your boyfriend to the police as someone who looks thin in clothes and has a good body when taking off his clothes. So my sister made me exercise my ABS every day and only let me come to see you when I had some results. Nancy grabbed his ear beside him. Don't tell the truth like that. Don't call her sister. She's your girlfriend. But we've never even talked. I only see her as my sister. Brett was dodging and looking at me, begging for mercy. I was helpless and spoke up for him. Forget it, Nancy. He's not my type. While hitting Brett, Nancy said boldly and generously. Tell me. Who do you like? As long as you say it, I'll bring him here to be your boyfriend. Whether he's a top celebrity, an idol, or a CEO, or a CEO. You can even date 18 boyfriends at the same time if you want. I wanted to say that I liked the boy who followed behind me and called me sister. But he was gone. I opened my mouth, about to refuse. Did you get my permission before falling in love, sister? A familiar voice sounded at the door. I turned around and couldn't believe my eyes. The man at the door was still wearing the familiar white work clothes. Except that the white shirt was replaced with a white coat. With his cold temperament and familiar eyebrows and eyes. Who else could it be but Silas? I burst into tears. I suspected that I was really sick and had imagined my attending doctor to be in the image of Silas. Wow. Where have you been? I'm going to find a boyfriend. Nancy. Give me the phone number in the Idol Weekly. If you don't come back, I'm going to fall in love with someone else today. Since I was already sick, I might as well say all the things I wanted to say to Silas. Nancy looked at Silas. Then at me. Cecilia. This one seems even more handsome than those good-looking but useless guys in the magazine. I think one is enough, don't you think? I cried even louder. What kind of friend are you? Didn't you say you'd find me 18 boyfriends? You're also a liar. Ooh. I had never cried since I met Nancy. Suddenly making such a big fuss directly left her at a loss. She looked at me. Then at Silas. Silas had already walked beside us. Nancy looked at me and finally decided to leave tactfully. When I saw Nancy leave, I cried even louder. Silas was very close to me. Helplessly. He pulled my body to face him and apologized in a low voice. I'm sorry. Sister. I didn't mean to lie to you. I had my reasons. Please don't be angry with me. Okay? Warmth came from his hands. I blinked. Was Silas really not dead? I was confused. Why don't they remember you? Who exactly are you? Also, your name isn't Silas. Why did you say it was Silas? They all say I'm crazy. I looked at his name tag. Psychiatry department. Silas. A smile appeared on Silas's fair face, because I'm just like you. Are you also reborn? Silas. No, Silas nodded. He told me his story. In my previous life, after I was forced by Renee to the point where my family was destroyed and I was left with nothing, I finally had mental problems. During the time I was in the hospital, he was the one taking care of me. I was in a trance during that period and would tell him a lot about my past. About the things Renee had done. And about my unwillingness. Later, I died. Unexpectedly. On the day I died. He was also reborn on the day I was released from prison. At first, he didn't take it seriously. But when he saw the date on his phone, he suddenly remembered that I had repeatedly told him the same things. And he remembered the date of my release from prison very clearly. So he took the opportunity to apply for a job in my family's company, hoping to see if he could help me. Unexpectedly, he met the reborn me. But when he wanted to tell me his name, a voice in his head stopped him. Destiny didn't allow to reborn people to share too much information. He could only change his name to remind me. And later he played along and continued to help me. As long as I fulfilled my wish, we could live a normal life. He originally wanted to tell me everything after getting his great revenge. Unexpectedly, he died. With his death, my wish also changed. Every day I prayed that Silas could come back. So, he came back. After hearing what he said, I beamed with joy, cupped his face, and gave him a kiss. So, you're the boyfriend that heaven compensated me with? He held my head, kissed me back, and only let go when I was out of breath. You can put it that way. We're destined for each other. Girlfriend. I blushed, then let out a low sigh. A deeper kiss came. Oh dear. Is there anyone to control how good Silas is at this? Silas's perspective. Somehow, I went back to a certain day in the past. At first, I didn't pay much attention. After all, my past life was nothing special. Just a 2.1-line life of going to work and coming back home. It wasn't until I went to the hospital to make my rounds, and found that the girl I had been paying attention to every day wasn't there, that I realized that maybe I could use my rebirth to go and see her. If possible, I could help her. The look in her eyes that still shone with light, even in the most desperate situation during the last part of her life, left a deep impression on me. Unexpectedly, I really saw her again. In an office. Her eyes were filled with a troubled light. She frowned and looked at another delicate girl on the stage. That girl was her sworn enemy, named Renee. I saw that among the people around. No one else reacted except her. I knew that this Renee must have already bribed everyone. If I didn't raise an objection, this plan would be carried out, but I was just a doctor. And I had used some means to get in. I knew nothing about these things. I secretly took a photo of the plan and sent it to my elder brother, the executor of the Silas family, which is at the top of the 4 major families in the capital city. He should be able to figure out the problems with this plan, right? My elder brother quickly sent me a disdainful expression and then told me the problems with the plan. And he asked me to go on a blind date. I looked at the troubled girl across from me and didn't reply. I quickly interrupted Renee's speech at the meeting. Then I saw adoration and joy shining in her eyes. And she even made a gesture to me. At that moment, I smiled. She was just as I had imagined. Lively and lovely. If she hadn't suffered such a cruel betrayal, she should have been living like this. Like a rose with thorns. Unrestrained and flamboyant. Just as I was thinking about how to help her, she mistook me for someone else and told me her plan. I didn't reject her sudden closeness. Instead, I was a bit happy. But it seemed that she only saw me as her younger brother. I stayed by her side using the identity of her younger brother. But one day, when I found that the real person she had mistaken me for was right beside me, I suddenly felt a bit worried. Worried that she would know I wasn't that person and would no longer be close to me. At that moment, I knew that I had fallen for her. I decided to lie and hide it from her again. But just then, rumors about us spread in the company. And she started to distance herself from me. Helpless. I could only use the strategy of sacrificing myself. I deliberately got myself soaked in the rain and went to find her. Sure enough, she was attracted by my plan and even forgot to ask me why I came to her so late instead of during the day. I didn't want to be just her younger brother. I deliberately pretended not to know what I was doing and shoved my masculine side in front of her every night. Seeing her blushing several times, I wanted to tell her that we had met in her previous life. It was just because of the voice in my head called the system that made her forget me. But it didn't matter. As long as she achieved her wish, she would remember me again. I could wait a bit longer. But before I could succeed, something happened to me first. I was in a transparent space. The system told me that her wish had changed. It was no longer about revenge but about hoping that I would be alive. I was very happy. And then I found myself back in our world again. I had the memories of 2 lifetimes in my head, but I wasn't sure if she still remembered me. I went to the company to look for her and found that no one remembered me. I asked everyone about her whereabouts. And everyone looked at me as if they were on guard. This made me very frustrated. There was no other way. I once again used my elder brother Sean's connections to find out where she was. To my surprise, she was now in my hospital. The place where we first met. It's really a coincidence, isn't it? I couldn't wait to tell the hospital that my vacation was over and went to the hospital to find her. Unexpectedly, as soon as I arrived at the door, I saw the scene where Nancy introduced Brett to her. Nancy recognized my identity. I used my eyes to tell her that I wouldn't hurt her. And Nancy believed me and left with Brett. I found that I could finally talk about these things. I carefully told her everything. I thought she would blame me for lying to her or not believe me. Unexpectedly, she recognized me at a glance. I couldn't help but kiss her. This time, we would never miss each other again. We were destined for each other. The end of the full text.